Hey, this is Aaron.
And Blake, we're AB Data.
Thanks for walking through this Alteryx Weekly challenge with us.
In this video, we're taking a look at weekly challenge number 206. The Alteryx Weekly challenges can be found on the Alteryx community. They're a great way to solve a problem on Monday when they are released weekly. So we're going to go ahead and calculate the average hotel stay and count the number of hotel reservation IDs for all reservations that were not canceled and at least one day in length. So we're actually going to go ahead and take a look at our data first and see what we have here. We have a reservation status and the date of that status changing. We have a field with the arrival date of month, the arrival date week number, which I'm not actually going to use, the month and the year, along with the reservation ID. And then we're looking to find the average length of stay for each month, assuming that we're not going to be straddling months. We're just going to say that a stay starts at a certain point. So first, let's go ahead and get rid of those canceled stays. So we're going to filter out where the reservation status is canceled. So if we take a list, I'll look at our list here. We're going to see that we've got quite a few that are canceled, and then we still have even more that are not. Just as a sidebar here, let's grab a summarize tool and see if there's any other type of status besides checkout or canceled, and there is. There's one called no-show. So we don't necessarily have to do anything about that right now, but let's keep that in mind for later in case we do have to come back. It's always good to know your data and to know what kind of anomalies are in there and what you're dealing with. So now that we have just our no-shows and our checkout statuses filtered, we can go ahead and we can concatenate a field using the separate pieces of the date for the check-in. We could also just we could do all of this in the formula tool using the datetime parse tool. I'm not going to do that just because it's a little bit easier to do it the way that I'm doing, and if you're watching this video, you're probably more of a beginner, but definitely check out datetime parse as you learn more and more about Alteryx and you want to use things like the formula tool rather than the datetime parse tool. So we're just going to concatenate the arrival date year, the month, and then the date of the month, and we'll go ahead and put spaces in between each of these. That way we have a nice field that is set up for our parse, our datetime tool in the parse category. So let's go ahead and grab that tool next. We want to make sure that we direct it at the new concat field that we just created. So we have that concat date. And we're going to call a new column, it's going to be called arrival date. And the nice thing about this tool is that as we type in, it'll tell us if we're right. So I have year, year, year. I've got the name of the month, and then not day, but DD for the day of the month. Let's go ahead and hit the run button. This field will automatically be made into a date field as well. So we have our arrival date right there at the right side of our data set that's got 2015, July 1st, really for all those first few dates that we're looking at. The next thing we want to do is we want to calculate the length of each stay. So we're going to do that by finding the date-time difference. However, I realized that maybe I need to change some of my field types so that I can do this. So let's get rid of some fields, and then let's also go ahead and change the types. So the status date, we're going to change into a date. We're going to get rid of that concat date that we created. We don't need that. This reservation status, we can probably drop off. The arrival date of month, week number. We do want to keep the month. We don't need the year. And then we'll keep the reservation ID because it tells us to count those later on. So now in our formula tool, we're going to go ahead and calculate the length of each stay, and we want them to be at least one day. So let's add a column that we're going to call length of stay. And we're going to use date-time diff. And we are going to take our field that is our reservation status date, which is our departure date. And we're going to subtract the arrival date from that. And we are going to end up with the number of days. We want this in days. This is what the question asks for. So we take a look and we see our length of stay. We've got them here, but remember we want length of stays that are at least 1 day in length. So let's say the length of stay, let's make sure that this is a numeric field. We'll just make it a double. So we want to say that we're going to need it to be a numeric field for our summarize tool next anyway. Our length of stay is greater than 0. Take a look, make sure everything looks good. Sure does. We got quite a few zeros over here on the false side of our filter. So we need one more tool, and that is our summarize tool in the transform category. And we are going to want to group by the month, because we're going to look at our finished product here, and we have a month field, average length of stay, and the number of reservations. So let's go ahead and say group by month, and we'll rename it to month so that we can match what we have in our output. We are going to find the average length of stay for each month. So let's go ahead and grab that length of stay field, go down to the numeric operators and say average length of stay. And then finally, we want to count all of our reservation IDs so that we know what our number of reservations is. So I'm going to check the names of the field here and just rename in my summarize tool to average length of stay. And then number of reservations. I'll hit the run button. And just to check my answer, I'm going to go ahead and grab a join tool. And I'm going to join on the answer that Alteryx gave us this week. And I'm going to join on 2 fields. I'm going to join on month and number of reservations, because those are a string and an integer. I don't want to try and join on that double field, that average field, because I'll probably have small discrepancies. But just eyeballing it, it looks like everything here is pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and move these fields next to each other and rerun so that they're just side by side. But yeah, this looks really good. So
Thank you for learning with us today. Good luck on your Alteryx journey.
For more information on custom training, managed service automations, and more, please visit our website at abdataconsulting.com.